Coogs house. 2026 class just started off with a bang. Ikenna Alozie is a Houston Cougar.
You are Locked On Cougs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Cougs, the daily podcast about your Houston Cougars. I'm your host, Houston-born teacher and coach Parker AINSWORTH. Whether you're a Houston fan or just a hater who came to step by, thank you for making Locked On Cougs your first listen of the day. Please make sure to listen each and every day here at Locked On Cougs. If you're enjoying the conversation and you don't know what to say, tell us in the comments down below. Let's go with what your favorite Houston Cougar point guard is, as they might have just landed your next one. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Best place to get in on the action with the NBA and things starting up. All things sports and action going over at FanDuel. But today's bonus extra last second at Houston landed the next point guard, and we had to bring you a little bit about him. Ikenna Alozie joins the Houston Cougars from Dream City Christian Academy. Plays out in Phoenix, Arizona. Plays in Arizona, I'll say. I don't want to get people upset about what is and isn't Phoenix and all of that. Here's what I'll tell you about Alozie. This dude is a dog. I want to talk some about his game and how he fits and all that. That's a bonus episode, so we'll see how long all of that takes. But Alozie joins at 6'2", 185 pounds, is the first commit for the Houston Cougars this cycle. I should say, I believe it's the first commit cycle. I've got some intel here. We're pushing this out a little quickly. We're not going to push it until after the recruit posts that they're going to Houston. But if you get that kind of intel, obviously, I never will post before the recruit commits. But I'd like to be ready with some things, and this is being ready on Ikenna. Now, 6'2", 185 pounds, big, strong shoulders, really well-built kid. He's the kind of kid that is just hyper physical. 6'2" combo guard, I think, does worry some people at the pro level. For college, he gets away with it. I think the reason it translates though is because he's super deluxe long. Tell me, stop me, I should say, if you've heard this before. Wingspan. Ikenna Alozie has a 6'6" wingspan as a 6'2" guard. Really helps his defensive prowess, especially when factoring in how strong he is. Really gets after it. Played in the AAU circuit with Utah Prep or Utah Prospects. I'm sorry, I should say. Really got after it with those guys on the EYBL circuit. Averaged a steal and a half a game and almost a block and a half per game as a 6'2" guard. Right. And for, good measure, solid 6.5 rebounds. He's all over the stat sheet. Now, offensively, that's where we're still developing. And I think what is nice for Houston's sake is his offensive side of his game is probably makes him a multi-year Houston Cougar. I don't project him to be a one and done personally, unless there's some major growth, which go make your money, boo-boo. I'm not going to be mad at any of that. He is the 32nd ranked player nationally. If his offense matches defense, he'd be in the top 5. He's that kind of a defender. And offensively, he's stronger, faster, more explosive, quicker than even the top tier of caliber EYBL candidate he'd be playing against. I coach kids that are playing at Division I level, played in EYBL. He would go by all of them, right? He is that kind of explosive. The deal is that he's not around, above, next to, on top of the rim. The offensive game starts to lose polish the further he gets away, right? He's not a big prolific jump shooter or anything like that. He's not bad. It's just not as clean. And he's certainly not like you think of a 6'2" guard like LJ Cryer. Marcus Sasser was 6'3". Those guys, they could shoot the ball a lot better clip. I do think, though, that Alozie comes in as a stronger defender off rip here. Playing with Dream City Christian this year, I guess for the last couple of years in the Nike EYBL Scholastic circuit. You'll see him on TV a couple times. They play Montverde later this year. I believe that game is in December, and they play another big Christian Academy in basketball in February. Those are both scheduled to be televised, and so you get to watch a little bit on there. If not, you can go to YouTube. I'd recommend the EYBL stuff because that's more comparable tape typically. And Nike EYBL is a top tier circuit. The Scholastic thing it is certainly probably closer to college basketball in preparation, but it also like some of the top players in the country aren't playing in it necessarily. It's a handful of top schools, and it's a much more smaller group. Anyway, I go back and forth which one I'd value more, but you see those videos and you see him jump off the screen from a physicality perspective. Now, what does he bring to Houston and what he adds? I think he fits like a glove defensively. I think he comes in immediately and it's like, this guy is a KELVIN SAMPSON dream as far as a defensive guard goes. I think the deal will be is watching him come along on the offense side. He's probably the only guy, certainly the only guy in my time covering the team, probably my only guy in my time like being a fan of Houston, which is obviously a lot longer, that would come in and take a red shirt for offense, not defense, at the guard position. Most of the time, you see that with a big guy that's got to figure out some stuff on offense and how to, walk and chew gum at the same time. He's a big, athletic, aggressive, whatever, right? Or sometimes you'll see that with a guard that just can't play Houston Cougar, KELVIN SAMPSON caliber defense, but is a great shooter, great whatever, right? It doesn't quite work out like that for Alozie. Now, I should point out that while he is, going to prep school in Arizona and played for a Utah AAU circuit team, being originally from Lagos, I think is an important aspect of the way the city ties into this story. City of Houston, obviously having a large Nigerian population, I think is a welcoming factor for, again, a kid born in Lagos. 32nd overall player nationally on composite scores, and is a top 5 guard in composite scores, combo guard in composite scores. He's really, really dynamic. Chose Houston over Alabama, Washington, Gonzaga to be the last few there. I guess he also had some potential NIL money from Grand Canyon, although I think that those power options were obviously much more in play. Alozier is a dominant, dominant, dominant force defensively. And I think that we mentioned how that helps him out with Houston offensively. I think when he gets on the floor at first, this is a steep comparison, but work with me for a second. I think at first he's going to remind people of JAMAL SHEAD. Right now, he is not the polished passer that JAMAL SHEAD is. And by the time JAMAL SHEAD had his junior, senior seasons, he was a pretty strong shooter from the outside too. But the same way JAMAL SHEAD got, like, when you need a point guard that's a scoring kind of guy or a combo guard like Alozier here is, right? They need to have something they do that when you have a dry spell scoring and they've had a couple buckets in there and you got to get some basket to stop the bleeding. What do they go to? Pick and roll game? They lob thrower? What do they do to get things going? Are they a pop off the flare screen? What do they do to get the ball in the basket? Alozie has a really good job, like JAMAL SHEAD did, of just taking the ball and running halfback dive at the basket, halfback dive. I'm going to tuck this thing. I'm going to put my broad shoulders in front of it, and you're not going to take it from me. And I'm going to the rim, and I'm getting free throws. I'm getting a layup, and that is what he does really well. And I do think that translates to the next level for him, that being college, obviously. I think that translates to the high end of the next level because he is so physically developed already. I would point out, too, that unlike other guards Houston's brought in, he finishes above the rim pretty ferociously. So keep an eye on all of that. As far as what else comes with Alozier, right? You've heard a lot of conversation about other guys in this class. Is Arafan Gian, or is it Caleb Holt, or is it more local? Where are you going for the next commitment? I think people feel pretty good about a couple different names in there. I mentioned Gian and Holt because they were all on the same recruit trip a couple weeks ago at this point with Alozier. I think that matters, right? I think the fact that they were enjoying their time together on campus matters as well. Big time pickup for Houston. The ball keeps rolling, right? Alozier projects to be the next potential in a long line of All-American guards. You went Quentin Grimes, you had Marcus Sasser, you had JAMAL SHEAD, you had LJ Cryer. You're looking at, is it Milos or Emmanuel this year? Is it Kingston or Isaiah, or off the board next year? And are you looking at Alozier as the year after that? I mean, you're really looking at that kind of a guy. I mean, he will be in the running at 6'2" for Defensive Player of the Year in the Big 12. He's that kind of a defender. And I don't know if having early in his career or not. And I think he's a few years in college kind of guy, but that helps Houston all the way around. Right now, obviously, we're breaking down more and all kinds of aspects of how he fits into the class as more comes out. Lots of football to get into and an important football season for the program as well. But did not want to get you out of here without talking about another big signing for KELVIN Sampson. This time, the first one of the 2026 class. Locked on Coogs, Locked on Podcast. I'm with your team every day. Go Coogs.